What's up YouTube, and welcome to another draw along with me, where today we're going to create this 3D balloon effect. Now as always, there's links to everything you're going to need in the description down below. There'll be the canvas size. There'll also be variations on however you feel comfortable in adding the palette. There'll be a link to the palette file which you can install, or you'll be able to use the colors that are on screen now. And you can download this graphic as well. It is in the description down below. For every method there is a how-to video as well, so it'll make things nice and easy. If you like this video, please be sure to drop a like down below, and in the comments let me know what you thought of it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and with all that said, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is go to our layers. We should have an empty layer, and we're going to add in a background gradient. So we're going to go ahead and go to our create options, and we're going to go to gradient. And we're going to draw in from the top using linear. We're going to draw in down the screen. And we're going to come down to roughly around about sort of this point here. Not all the way down, but about sort of 2/3 down. The bottom color, if you tap on it, we're going to want to change it to this color here. So it's the second color in the palette. Then roughly halfway, we're going to tap and we're going to add another point, and we're going to tap on that color and change it to the first color in the palette. And then the top node at the very top of the gradient, we're going to grab this color here on the top right of our palette. And that will give us a nice background gradient for our sky. So we'll hit the tick when we're done. And we've got that ready to go. What we're then going to go ahead and do is go to our layers and create another new layer. We're going to go ahead and change our brush. We're going to go now to the option of fills. And we're going to use the solid fill brush. We're going to change our color. We're going to grab white, so it's the third color on the top row. We're going to go to our create options, and we're going to use the circle option here under shapes. Now what this will do is this will allow us to draw in a circle, and it will fill in the circle for us with that solid white. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start just over here on the left hand side, just create my sort of first circle, so I can drag out from there and create a circle. And then we want to sort of create two sides really of circles at the front anyway. So I'm just going to draw in another circle here. I'll draw in another one just beside it. And we're just going to go ahead and just fill in this top area with some nice bouncy, fluffy cloud circles. So just have some fun creating a nice sort of cloud look to it. You can nicely sort of make your clouds go backwards and forwards on themselves. So like mine there, they dip in and then they come back out on themselves. And then what we'll do is we'll just drag a few times with the circle option just to fill in some of these gaps here down in the bottom left. You get an idea for your clouds then. And maybe I will just add one in here just to break that down a little bit. Then we'll leave a gap in the middle, and we'll go ahead and create another one here, just a slight gap in between. And then we'll just basically kind of mirror that, but not perfectly. So just going to make that a little bit bigger on this side now, just a couple of big ones. I want the height to pretty much be the same. We want it to be nice and balanced. And once you've kind of got your rough outline, again, fill in these gaps just with some more circles. Take a look and just see if you need to adjust them in any way. So I could maybe make this side a little bit bigger over here, just to eat into that gap in the middle a bit more. So I'm just going to do exactly that. And I don't want any big harsh gaps like that, so I'll get rid of that one. And I'll maybe add another one down here too. But overall, that looks pretty good. The only thing I will do on my occasion is go to the create options and edit, grab the basic transformation, maybe just move mine across just a tiny bit, just so that the gap is very much central. So a little bit like this. Tap on the tick and then carry on with the circle tool, just to fill in the gaps on the edges, like so. So I'll just fill in this little gap that I made. So that's just something to consider in your own design. Next, what we'll do is we'll create another new layer. We'll go ahead and drag that underneath. We're going to go to our color. We're going to grab this color just beside it. So it is the fourth color on that top row. And we're going to do exactly the same now, but we're going to draw in with the circle tool on this layer and draw in with some blue. So we're just going to leave a gap between the white ones. They can join in the middle on this occasion. And we're just going to create some more clouds that are just on a separate layer a little bit further back. And we're just going to basically repeat the same steps. So again, have some fun with it. Create some fun little circles and creating your little cloudy scene. And something like that does look okay. I like ones that just sort of stand out a little bit more. So maybe I'll create one that just has a little bit of a higher bump there. And then again, I want to make sure it's nice and balanced on either side. So I'm going to join them in the middle, just making sure that they kind of dip a little bit. And also the height, make sure that they are somewhat the same height, but we want them to be unique from one another. So we will make this one a little bit different. And using the circle tool, we can just create our clouds. Now what we do want to make sure is that we kind of just fill in a few circles just in behind here, just to fill in any gaps. We don't want any gaps like here. So just fill in a few times just in behind here to make sure it's nice and solid underneath. And I think I'll even go ahead and maybe make this one a little bit bigger on this left hand side. A little something like that. Now that looks pretty cool. We've got some nice bumpy ones in there, and I think I'll leave them as they are. Potentially the only thing I'll change is just make that a little bit more solid up here. And then we're going to do that again one more time. So we're going to go ahead and go to our layers and create a new layer. Drag it underneath the light blue one that we just made. Go to our color and change it to this color. It is the 5th color on that top row. And then what I'll do is just draw one in the middle just to get it started. And then from there, just create some nice big fluffy clouds. They don't have to necessarily be big, but we just want to maybe fill out the space quite quick and easy just to see what we're working with. And then we can add in some nice fun smaller details around it. So some big clouds up here maybe, slightly smaller one there, maybe even looks like a little bump off of there. I think the small ones look pretty cool. They add in like a sort of miniature amount of detail really. And something like that looks quite nice. I'm going to block in that gap a little bit more so it's less of a harsh gap. And something like that will do the trick. So you can just tap on your circle tool when you're done and you should end up now with 3 rows of clouds. Now while we're working on them, we're going to go ahead and add in some shadow effects to them. So we're going to go ahead and the bottom one out of all 3, we're going to go ahead and tap on it. We'll duplicate the layer. The bottom one out, the 2, tap on it. Go to your color. We're going to go ahead and go to our disk and we're going to grab black by dragging it into the bottom right corner. We're then going to go up to our create options and the fill option here. We're going to tap on that and tap and drag a few times just in there just to fill it in perfectly. You'll see from the thumbnail it's changed to black underneath. Tap on your tick when you're done. Then we're going to go to our create options. We're going to go to edit. We're going to go to filters. And we're going to go to structure and blur. And we want to blur this out till we end up with a nice little bit of a sort of solid shape, but it's a little bit blurry. So maybe we don't want to go quite as far as some of these, but I think if we leave it at 50, that should look pretty good later on. So we're going to tap on 50 and hit the tick when we're done. Then we're going to go ahead and tap on that layer. We're going to lower the opacity down. We're going to drop it down to the 30% mark. We're then going to go to our cursor. We're going to go ahead and go to edit. And we're going to go to basic transformation. And we're going to move this up. And we're going to make it a little bit bigger, just a tiny bit bigger. And then off to the right a little bit. So we want our lighting to go this way. So our shadows need to point that way. So I'm just going to do exactly that. And we made it a little bit bigger so that the layer nicely goes edge to edge. So we're just trying to create a little effect like this, making sure your shadows nicely move off to that right hand side. And then we can tap on the tick when we're done. And you should end up with a really nice sort of shadow in the back there. Now, when we repeat that for the layers in front, it will really come together with the depth and what it's going to look like. So we'll go up a layer to the blue, light blue ones in the middle. Tap on that layer and duplicate it. The bottom one out, the 2. We're going to go ahead and go to our create options and fill. I'm going to tap in that space and drag a few times. You'll see the thumbnail there change to black. Hit the tick when you're done. Then go to our edit options, filters, and we're going to go ahead and use structure and blur. We're going to again leave it at that 50% mark and tap on the tick when we're done. We're going to tap on the layer, lower the opacity down. We're going to drop it down to 30%. And then we're going to go to our options again. We're going to go to edit. We're going to go to basic transformation. And scale it up the tiniest bit and move it up and over to that right hand side, kind of following the same sort of gap and distance that you made on the ones in the back. And you should end up with something a little bit like this. And then hit the tick when you're done. And that is that shadow effect I was saying, that it just really brings it all to life. Then we're going to go up to the white layer at the front, tap on that and duplicate it and repeat the steps. So the bottom one out the 2, we go to our create options, tools and fill. Tap on either side just to make sure that they're both black. Hit the tick when you're done. Again, from your thumbnail there, you'll be able to see they've both changed to black. Then we're going to go ahead and go to our edit. We're going to go to filters. We're going to go to structure and make sure the blur is set to 50% and hit the tick when you're done. Then tap on the layer and lower the opacity down again to 30%. consistency is key. And then we'll go to our create options and edit, basic transformation, scale it up the tiniest bit, and then move it off to that right hand side, just so that your shadows nicely have the same sort of distance, and you'll end up with this really cool shadow effect. Now you may see little gaps here at the bottom, for example. Now you could crop the design right at the end, and that's exactly what I will do, is I'll crop it right at the end when I'm happy with everything, and that will get rid of any gaps on the bottom with this shadow. If I hit the tick, you can see that little effect that we're trying to pull off. We're just going to add in some extra colors to our clouds before we're done with it, and I'll save you some layers as well. So we're going to go ahead and go to the middle blue layer. We're going to tap on it and we're going to alpha lock it so we can't paint outside of it. Now that the layer is locked, we can go to our colors. We're going to go ahead and grab the color on the far right of the palette, top right on that blues. We're going to go to our brush library and then go ahead to sprayers. We're going to scroll down until we get to the soft airbrush. The brush size probably wants to be around about the 400 mark, if not slightly less, maybe about 360. And all we're going to do is where the shadows are, we're just going to paint in a little bit of blue in behind here. So nice and light with your pressure. Paint in a bit of this blue, and it's slightly darker, and it will just help diffuse those shadows just a little bit, giving them a little bit more blue to them shadows rather than them be sort of that black harsh colour. So just a little bit of blue. It's just a tiny little touch, but it will really make a difference overall. Then we're going to go down to the blue layer in the back, tap on that layer and alpha lock that too. Now you'll notice there's no colour for this one because I want to show you that you can go up to your settings and we can just simply go ahead and lower the brightness here and the settings of the colour, and we could drop that down to say 70, and we can maybe increase the saturation up to maybe 68 to 70 as well. So something around about that sort of mark will do the trick. And now we've got a slightly darker version of the brush that we used. You can see there at the top, meaning now we can just add in that little bit of colour under there. So I just wanted to show you that that's how you can maybe make a minor adjustment to a colour if you ever need to. So that is just, again, a slightly different blue, and just everywhere where your shadow is, just nice and lightly add in a little bit of extra blue. It's very subtle, I will say, it's very subtle, but it's just that slight change of colour that will really put it all together. Now what we can do is go ahead and work on the hot air balloon. So for a minute, what you can do is you could pinch the shadow all the way up to the top and put them into a group if you've got the layer count for it. So let me bring my layers out. We've got a group here now for our clouds. Or if you're struggling for layers, tap on the group and then go to the option here of flat. And then what that will do is just put all your layers onto one layer. So you'll have all your clouds there on one layer. So now you can't adjust them, but they're all ready to go. Next, let's go ahead and create our hot air balloon. So we're going to go ahead and go up to our create options here. I'm going to go to perspective and just add on a grid. All that's going to allow me to see, if I drag that node all the way to the bottom right, is the grid itself doesn't matter. All I want to see is a line that's running down the middle, so I know that that's the center point. So you make sure that they're nice and even all the way across and there's not much of a gap there. But just so I've got some sort of guide in the middle of the screen. And I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and go to my create options and go to circle. I'm going to go to my brush and change it to fills and the solid fill brush. And my color wants to be the first of the pinks. It's the first color in the second row. And I'm just going to sort of use that guide there and tap and drag out from there, creating a circle for the top of our hot air balloon. So something around about that sort of size will do the trick. And then I'm going to go ahead and tap on my circle tool when I'm done. And I'm going to tap on that layer and duplicate it. Grab my create options and go to edit. I'm going to go to basic transformation, and I'm just going to scale that down in size and move it down. And we want to make this is going to be the sort of bottom area of the hot air balloon. So we want to make sure that it touches the bottom edge of the big circle you made. And also it's got this line guide running somewhat straight through the center of it. Hit the tick when you're done. And then what I'm going to do is go to my brush. I'm going to change it then to calligraphy and the monoline brush. The size doesn't really matter. You want it kind of small, so I've got it down to about 10. And all I'm going to do is draw a line that runs from the edge of that circle. Hold your line down so you can make a nice perfect straight line, and just run that into the side there of the bottom circle from the top one. And then we'll do the same over here. So we're just going to try and come from the very side of the circle and just run that all the way into the bottom one. So you should end up with something like this. Then what you can go ahead and do is tap on the layer and merge it down. so that your circle layers are all onto one layer. And then what you can do is go to your create options and go to fill and tap in these gaps here. If you get this little white edge, just tap and drag a few times from left to right, and that will increase the threshold, and hit the tick when you're done. But if you end up with any little gaps, it just takes 2 seconds just to fill in any tiny pixels that have been left over. The solid fill normally would get rid of that, but we didn't use that on this occasion. So just fill in that in. And then you've got the body of your hot air balloon. What we're then going to go ahead and do is create the basket underneath. So we'll create another new layer. We're going to go to our create options again and go to circle. And we're going to go ahead and change our brush. We're going to go back to fills and the solid fill. And we're going to create a circle that is just a bit sort of narrower than that smaller circle we made at the bottom here. Then when you're done, tap on the circle icon here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our eraser, tap on the eraser. We're going to go ahead and go to calligraphy and the monoline brush. And we're going to go ahead with our eraser size set to something a bit small. We want it roughly around about maybe say 16, something nice and small. I'm just going to go ahead and create an arc, hold my pen down at the end to create a perfect arc, and kind of just let that just run all the way through till it's nice and sort of symmetrical, and then just erase the top. And then what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and make our brush a bit smaller on the eraser, down to about 8, and just round off these corners a little bit so they're not quite so sharp. Just round them off just a little bit, like so, and then we'll round that off on the other side as well, just so that we then have a nice rounder looking basket at the bottom. The only thing we're going to do on that one though is we're going to go to our create options and go to edit. We're going to go to basic transformation, and then going to go ahead and go to the option here and change it from basic to distort. And I'm just going to grab the bottom node here and just make it a little bit taller, just a little bit, so we've got more of a basket there, and hit the tick when I'm done. Then we're going to go ahead and create one more new layer, drag it underneath our basket and our hot air balloon, and also grab the basket and drag that underneath. So you should have your hot air balloon at the top, your basket, and then an empty layer underneath. I'm going to grab the basket first of all and make sure I'm happy with the positioning of it. So I'm just going to move it till it's a little bit higher, and also it's nice as central as I can make it. So something around about that. Hit the tick when I'm done. And as always, zoom out to make sure you're happy with it, which I am. And then we're going to go ahead and go to that empty layer. We're going to go to our brush, making sure our brush is then changed back to the option of calligraphy and the monoline brush. We're going to change our color. We're going to change it to white, which is the third color in that top row. The brush size is currently set to 8, and I think that's about fine. We're just going to draw in some ties. So we're just going to draw in a line here from the edge, and we're going to try and match that out as best we can on the opposite side and into that corner as well. And then we're going to draw in a line here too. Hold your pen down to make sure it's a nice straight line, and run that into these edges here as well. And there you go, you've got some ties from your hot air balloon above. Now we can actually go ahead and tap on the basket and tap on it, and we can merge it down a layer so that the ties and the basket are on one layer. That'll be ready for later on. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and go to our create options again. We'll go to edit, basic transformation, and you can actually select multiple layers at once. So currently this layer is the one I've got selected. If I actually tap up here and select that too, I can move both of them at the same time. So that's just a nice little tip if you didn't already know that. And I'm going to move it up a little bit so that it's got a little bit of breathing space from the clouds below. So something roughly around about that sort of mark looks pretty good to me height wise. And then hit the tick when you're done. Now we can go ahead and add in the other layers on top of the balloon. So I'm going to go to the balloon layer here. I'm going to turn off my grid. I don't really need that now. I'm going to go ahead and tap on that layer, and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm then going to go ahead and go to the colors. I'm going to grab the next pink along, which is this one here. So it's the second color on that bottom row. I'm going to go to my create options and fill, and I'm going to tap in the middle of the balloon. And I can maybe tap a few times to the right if I need to. Hit the tick when I'm done. And then go to your create options. We're going to go to edit. We're going to go ahead and use the distort option here. And we're just going to bring this node here on the right in a little bit, making it narrower, and then move it back into the center of your hot air balloon, making sure it's sort of nice and symmetrical to the hot air balloon. And we're building up all the sort of paper layers really to this 3D effect. So by making it a little bit narrower, it would kind of creating like a fan effect with the paper. And then hit the tick when you're done. Then what you want to go ahead and do is go to that layer, tap on it and duplicate it. Go to your colors. I'm going to grab this color here, the fourth color in the pinks, so the fourth color. Then go ahead and go to your create options and go to fill and tap in the middle of that shape again. Hit the tick when you're done and then make this one narrow as well. So we're going to go to our create options and go to edit. We're going to go to basic transformation. In fact, we'll change that, to distort, and we will just move that in and move it again back into the center of your canvas. That is very critical. Now all you want to do at this occasion is make sure this is narrow enough so that the gap between the edge and this shape is almost the same sort of size. So I'm going to make that a little bit narrower and move it into the center and hit the tick when I'm done. And you should end up with something like this. And then the final shape we need to make up here is we're going to tap on this layer here and duplicate it. We're going to go to our colors and we're going to grab this color here. It's the third color in the pinks. So this one here, middle color in that bottom row. Go to our create options and go to fill. Tap on the top layer here. Hit the tick when you're done. Then we're going to go ahead and go to our create options. I'm going to go to edit. We're going to go to select and rectangle. We're going to draw in a rectangle that cuts all the way through that perfectly vertically. And then once you've made that selection, we're then going to go to our eraser. We can tap on the eraser and grab the monoline brush. And we can make the brush as big as we can make it, 126, and just erase inside that selection only. And then when you're done, you can tap up here and you'll end up with half of the front shape ready to go. So next up, we're going to go ahead and add some shadows to our hot air balloon. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go to our basket layer. We're going to tap on it and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to tap on the layer. We're going to tap on it and use the option of alpha lock. So tap on it and lock it. We're then going to go ahead and go to our brush quickly. Just change it to the calligraphy option of monoline and make the brush quite big, just so we can fill in the space quite quickly. So I'm going to max it out and go to my color. I'm going to change it to black by dragging down into the bottom right of the disc. And I'll just fill that layer in with black. It's fine. I can see on the thumbnail there, it changes to black. That's good with me. And then what I can go ahead and do is tap on the layer and turn off the alpha lock so that I can then go up to my create options and go to edit. We can go to filters. We can go to structure and blur. And we're going to make this one blurred out as well. And I think 50% looks okay, but I think if we make that a little bit smaller, maybe down to 40, we'll end up with a bit more definition in this one. So 40% on this one and hit the tick. Then what we're going to go and do is grab our create options and edit and basic transformation and just move that up to the top right in the same way we did before down here. So a little bit of that upward angle like so will look really cool. Something like this, and hit the tick when you're done. And tap on the layer and lower the opacity down. And on this occasion, we'll drop this layer down to, let's go down to about 50%. So this one's quite defined. In fact, let's make it a bit smaller than that, about 40. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and go to the layer for the actual basket itself. I'm going to create a new layer above it and tap on it and clip this layer. So this option here of clip to the layer below. And I'm going to tap on this new empty layer and change the blend mode from normal. And I'm going to change it to overlay. So once overlay selected, we're going to go ahead and change our brush color to white, so the middle color in the top row. And we're going to go to our brush. We're going to go to the option of sprayers, and we're going to go down to the soft airbrush. Now making the soft airbrush nice and small, maybe about, what size is that? That's a bit too small. I'm going to go up to about 60 points. I'm going to zoom in. And the only thing I want to do is in the bottom left of this basket is just introduce a bit of a highlight. So just rounding that off like so. And this is where the sort of subtle lighting effects will really bring it all together. When you zoom out, it really does look like the lighting's coming that way and it's just hitting that and it's reflecting a tiny bit. Now we're actually done with the basket. So if you want to, you can bring out your layers and merge all three of those layers together if you want. I'm going to go up a layer to the main body of the hot air balloon. I'm going to tap on it and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. The bottom one out the two, I'm going to tap on that layer and I'm going to go ahead and alpha lock it. I'm going to go to my colors. I'm going to change my color to black. And I'm going to go to my fill options, so create and fill, and tap in that space. That's all I want to do and hit the tick. So that again, I can go up to my create options and go to edit, go to filters. I'm going to go to structure and blur. I'm going to swipe to the 40% mark in the same way we did before. And then at this stage as well, you'll also need to go ahead and tap this lock here, which will turn off the alpha lock, and then you'll see the actual blur happening in the background there. So I'm going to go to 40% and hit the tick when I'm done. And then again, tap on that layer. I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity down of that layer. And I'm going to bring this one also down to about that 40% mark. I'm going to go ahead and grab my cursor. So go to create, edit, and the basic transformation, and move that up to the top right. And then you'll see your shadow come in via hot air balloon, which is going to look really, really cool. And hit the tick when you're done. Now, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and tap on this layer, and I'm actually going to lower my opacity down. I'm going to make a change on the fly. So I'm going to bring that down to about 25%. I think the 40 is a bit too strong, but that nice sort of subtle shadow there, less is more a lot of the time. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is go to the next shape up, which is this one here. You can see if I tap it on and off a few times. I'm going to tap on that layer and duplicate it. The bottom one out the two, I'm going to tap on that layer and clip it down. So it's clipped to the main body of the hot air balloon. I'm going to go to my create options and go to fill. And I'm going to just tap in that layer, change it to black, and hit the tick. You'll see from the thumbnail it's changed. And then we're going to add a blur to it. So we'll go to edit, filters, and structure and blur. And on this occasion, we'll keep it at that 40% mark so it's nice and consistent. Hit the tick. And then we're going to go ahead and tap on this layer, lower its opacity down to, let's go down to 40% for now. Then go to our create options and go to edit, basic transformation, and move that up to the top right. So following suit with the rest of the design, you should end up with a little bit of a shadow up towards that top right edge like so. And you can hit the tick when you're done. Now that to me is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to go ahead and tap on the layer and just lower the opacity down. And I'm going to bring it down to something around about 30%. And then I'll make sure that that's nice and consistent going forward. So 30% on that one. Then we're going to go ahead and go up to the next shape, which is this one here. Turn it on and off, so it's the second shape inwards. The one above it, tap on that and duplicate it. So you've got two of this middle shape we made. The bottom one out the two, tap on that and clip it down to the next one down. So there's a lot of things there, but take a look at my layers and the colors used just to match up to yours. Then go to your create options and go to fill and just tap in the middle of that shape there to change it to black. Hit the tick when you're done. Then I'm going to go ahead and go to my edit options. I'm going to go to edit and filters, structure and blur. And we're going to drop that down to 40% blur. Hit the tick when we're done. And then also tap on that layer and lower its opacity down. We'll drop it down to 30% again. So that then when we go to our edit option, we go to basic transformation, we move that shadow up towards the top right again. We'll end up with this really nice little shadow there on the inside of our hot air balloon, and hit the tick when you're done. And the left side should be slightly brighter because of course that's where the lighting is coming from. So the top right edge up there will get a little bit darker. Now we're going to add in some very basic lighting effects on these, just the same way we did to the basket down here. So I'm going to go up to the top layer here, which is that slight slither on its own there at the top. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to tap on it and clip it to that shape. And I'm going to go ahead and tap on this layer and change its blend mode from normal. And I'm going to change it to overlay. Then go to your brush, make sure it's set to soft airbrush, and the color needs to be set to white. So you can drag your disc up to the top left. Then what we'll do is we'll zoom in, and we're just going to come down this edge. So just go down this edge here, and then as you come inwards, maybe just bring it in ever so slightly, a little bit more towards the base, and just let it get a bit thin towards the top. But again, it's a subtle highlight that's going to make a big difference in the end. So we're just going to come down this edge. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger as it runs up and down that edge, and then just let it run off. So there we go. We've got a nice highlight on there, and we'll do the same for this side and this side. So we'll go down to this layer here. We're going to go ahead and go up to the shadow that's above it and create a new layer. It will clip itself automatically. So the only thing you need to do is tap on that new layer and change the blend mode from normal to overlay. And once you set it to overlay, repeat the same steps. So I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm just going to come around that edge here, staying quite far out, and then come inwards a little bit more towards the bottom. Just brightening that up in that bottom corner. But again, it's that nice little bit of lighting. It's like catching that edge there. And then we'll go down to our main body yet again, the big one outside here. The shadow above, tap on it and create a new layer, and it will clip above it, and tap on that layer and change the blend mode from normal to overlay. And again, zoom in and come down that edge with the white, down there into the base, making that a little bit wider, and just bring that highlight down the edge there. You should end up with a very subtle sort of highlight on that edge. Then when we zoom out, your hot air balloon looks so 3D, it looks awesome. Now at this point, if you're concerned about your layers, just bring them out. And what you want to do is you want to try and pinch all of those into one layer. So you can do exactly that like so, and it will go into a group. You can tap on the group and flatten it down if needs be. Now the final thing we're going to do is just add in some background clouds, and these are really simple to do. We're just going to go ahead and go back down to our gradient layer. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to go to our brush and make sure it's set to fills and the solid fill. We're going to go ahead and go to our create options and go to circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to create our first cloud, and I'll show you the process. So just going to create some circles, nice and small really. Don't be too precious over them, because what we're going to do in a second is just hack straight through the middle of them. So something like that, just a few of them. Hit the circle tool when you're done. Then go to your options and go to edit, go to rectangle as the selection option, and we're just going to draw through here. So you may need to clear the previous one, so you can go over here and go to clear. That will get rid of them. But you can just want to just draw straight through the middle and a little bit higher, and make sure you've covered the whole of the bottom area, so that then what you can do is you can hit the tick, go to your eraser again, and just erase that selection and tap on the red dot up here, and you've created a really cool cloud, a bit like Andy's bedroom from Toy Story. And then what we'll do is we'll repeat that on the opposite sides and both sides, so that we've got 3 on either side really. So go back to your brush, make sure the brush is still set to solid fill, which it is. Go to your create options and go to circle. And then we're just going to draw in some more clouds. So I'm going to do this one slightly off to the side of the canvas, just a little bit like so. And then I'll add another one just on the end here, just like so. And tap on my circle tool when I'm done, so that I can then go up to my create options and go to edit, rectangle selection. And you may need to go ahead and clear any selection. So just go down here to clear, and then just run a rectangle through there. Then go ahead and hit the tick when you're done. Grab your eraser and just erase that bottom area, and tap on the red dot up there. And there you go, you've got another little cloud at the top. So I'm going to go to my create options and go to circle. Then I'll go ahead and create another one just in here. So switching back to my brush, you want to make sure you switch back to your brush and just create another one here that's maybe just a few wide, maybe even just one over there too. Tap on your circle tool when you're done. Go to your edit option of rectangle selection, clear the last selection, and just run a line all the way through it and hit the tick when you're done. Then go to your eraser and just erase that. Then hit the red dot up here, and you've created another cloud. And then we'll go up to our brush again. We'll go to our create options and go to circle, and we'll add some on this side. So you want to again try and look at both sides, try and sort of balance out your design. So I'm going to create a very sort of small cloud down here. That's just maybe a few. Tap on my circle tool when I'm done. Go back to edit, go to rectangle. I'll clear any other selections before, and then I'll just run this through here. Hit the tick when I'm done. Grab my eraser and just erase. And then tap on my selection option there. And we've got 4 clouds in the background. We've got space for 2 more. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my create options and go to circle. Change back to my brush, and I'll add another cloud up here. And this one I'll maybe make a little bit bigger with a few more sort of circles to it. A little something like this. And then hit the circle tool when I'm done. Go to my edit options, rectangle, clear the last selection, so go to clear, and run that through there. Then when you're done, hit the tick, go to your eraser and erase through there, and hit the red dot at the top there when you're done. So again, trying to work out your gaps and balance. And we've got one more to add into this space here. So we'll go up to our create options and go to circle, and then we'll go to our brush, and we're going to add in a big circle here. And this is going to be sort of a big cloud on this side over here. So I'm going to make this one nice and big. and maybe a few circles running off to the edge, and maybe make this one a bit bigger on that top end. So that then when I can tap on my circle tool when I'm done, I'll go to my edit options, rectangle, clear the last selection, and just run that through there. Hit the tick when I'm done, go to my eraser and erase through that gap, and hit the red dot at the top when you're done. And there we go, we've got some nice clouds in the background. But we also need to add some shadows to them. So we're going to tap on the layer and we're going to duplicate it. The bottom one out the two, we're going to tap on the layer. We're going to alpha lock it so we can't drop any color outside of it. Then we're going to go to our create options and go to fill. We're going to change our color up here. We're going to change it to black. And then we're just going to tap away in these clouds a few times. So tap in each cloud. You should have 6 in total. And you should see from your thumbnail you've got black clouds in there. Hit the tick when you're done. Then go to your edit options. We're going to go to filters. We're going to go to structure and blur. And we'll blur it to the option of 40%. But because it's alpha locked, you're not seeing it yet. So just tap on the lock up here to turn that off. Then hit the tick when you're done. Tap on the layer. Lower the opacity down. Let's go down to about sort of 35%. Hit our options and go to edit. We'll go to transformation and basic and move that up to the top right, giving those some distance as well from the background, and hit the tick when you're done. And there you go, you are done with today's design. The only thing I would recommend that you do is maybe just make things a little bit bigger and move them around where you feel is necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my clouds at the bottom. I'm going to go to the options of edit, basic transformation. I'm just going to move mine down a little bit so I crop off that bottom edge, and I'll maybe make them a little bit bigger just so that they nicely have all the shadows intact. And I'm going to move mine down a little bit more, giving some more breathing space to the top edge up here. I'm going to hit the tick when I'm done. Then what I'm also going to do is just move my hot air balloon just down a little bit. So I'm going to go to my group for that. I'm going to open up the group. I'll select one of those layers, then go to my create tools and go to edit and basic transformation. And then I can select all the layers in that group. So until I've selected the entire thing, so all the way down to my basket there. And I can just move that down into position where I'm a bit more happy with it. I'll zoom out a little bit, just making sure that it's nicely positioned in the center of your canvas. And also it's got a bit of breathing space on the top and bottom, and hit the tick when you're done. And then I'll go ahead and I'll move my layers out of the way. I'll pinch with 2 fingers. I'll go full screen with 4, and we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. As always, please be sure to share your designs with me over on Instagram. You can tag me in your designs and I'll have an opportunity to share them to my Instagram story. Also, come and join my Facebook group. I've made a Facebook group for enthusiasts of infinite painters. You can share your designs, whether they're mine or your own work. It's totally up to you. And if you like this design, you'll probably like this one on the screen now. Now, of course, as always, if you're interested in today's equipment list, I'm using the Sketchboard Pro. You can always use the code JoelCreate for 10% off. I'm using the pen mat screen cover. Again, there's a link in the description down below with a discount code to pen tips. And I'm using the Doudrot glove. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.